everybody, this is Judy at Judi in the Kitchen. Today we're going to roast a spaghetti squash and we're going to make a topping of lentils with vegetables. First thing we need to do is get the spaghetti squash in the oven to roast. And I've taken a medium-sized spaghetti squash here, just one, and I've cut it in half lengthwise and scooped out the seeds with a spoon. And I've got it on a parchment paper lined baking sheet. Now there is no oil needed for this, no extra water needed for this or anything. All I'm going to do is place it cut side down on the parchment paper. And I've got my oven preheated to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And we're going to roast this until the rind can be poked with either a fork or a sharp knife relatively easily. It takes somewhere around 30 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, a little bit less, depending upon the size of the squash. This one might take about 30 to 35 minutes. And from here we go to the stove. I have a medium-sized pot here warming up over just a little more than medium heat, and it does have a nice lid with some vent holes in it actually. So now to this pot that's beginning to warm up, I'm going to add about a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. If you are one who does not want to use oil, you can use some vegetable broth instead. Okay, so to that I'm going to add about 1/3 of a cup of diced onion. And we're going to allow this to saute just briefly until it begins to soften up just a bit. I'm really not going to worry about doing this too awful long because these are going to cook along with the lentils. But we just want to give them a little head start and enhance that flavor some. The onion has sauteed for a minute or two now, and I'm going to go ahead and add 4 cloves of chopped garlic. Don't worry about writing things down. I do have the recipe in the description box below, so don't worry about that. And I have an 8-ounce package of mushrooms that I've sliced up. This is baby portobello mushrooms. You can add whatever mushrooms you want, and if you want to use canned mushrooms or frozen mushrooms, go for it. Whatever kind you prefer is what you need to use. Again, we're just going to give these a little bit of a head start here by sauteing them briefly. They will cook completely with the lentils in this pot. Alright, they're beginning to warm up some. Now I'm going to add 1 cup of diced carrot. Now we're going to go ahead, this is starting to soak up that little bit of oil, so I'm going to go ahead and get the rest in here. I have 1/2 cup of lentils that I have rinsed and drained. I have 1 14.5-ounce can of petite diced tomatoes, 1 1/4 cups of vegetable broth. Now we're going to add a little herbs to the mix. We've got a teaspoon of dried basil, a teaspoon of dried thyme, a 1/2 teaspoon of dried oregano, and we've got a little pinch of dried red pepper flakes. And then we're going to add a little salt and pepper to taste, really. I'm not going to add a huge amount of salt because I know my broth has some salt in there. Not a whole lot. That's homemade broth I'm using. And at the most, I'd say this is about a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. But again, that's adjustable. That's to taste. And we'll give that a taste after a while. So now all I'm going to do is just stir this up to combine it. And I'm going to turn the heat up so I can bring this to a boil, and then I'm going to cover it. And once it comes to a good boil and I cover it up, I'm going to turn the heat down some to medium, and then maybe down to a medium low, and just allow it to simmer until the lentils are tender and most of the juice is absorbed. And it'll take about a 1/2 hour or so. So this should be done about the time the spaghetti squash is roasted. All works out about the same, so it's a meal that's cooking all about the same time frame. All right, I've got it turned up. I'm going to put the lid on it, and we're going to bring it to a boil. My mixture is starting to boil, so I'm going to keep that lid on there, and I'm going to turn it down to medium, and then possibly a little bit lower than that. I just want it at a gentle simmer, and I'm going to let it go for 25 30 minutes at the most, just until the lentils are tender and most of the liquid is absorbed. Now our spaghetti squash are done. You can see that a knife pokes in there pretty easily, no problem. Our lentil mixture is not completely cooked yet, so I'm allowing the spaghetti squash to just cool down some until we can handle them. Our lentils are nice and tender. There is still some liquid left in there, but that's no problem. They will still continue to absorb some of it, and a little bit of moisture in there is actually a good thing. It will help to moisten up this dish. I've turned the stove off. I'm going to just leave this here until we can scoop out the strands from the spaghetti squash. My squash has cooled down some, just enough for me to be able to handle it. So I just want to be able to show you what we do here. You just take a fork and poke it in there, and it helps to release the strands of the spaghetti squash. And of course you want to do this with both halves, but I'm just going to demonstrate here this little bit on this one. And then once you loosen them up, you can transfer them to a serving dish or your plate, however you want to do it. Just looks like spaghetti there. Sorry, it was a little high on the screen. We'll just transfer some of this on over. And you can use whatever amount you want. And squash is very light, doesn't have a lot of calories to it. So there you go. There you've got a plate of that. Now we'll add on some of our lentil and vegetable mixture. And it's really a delicious meal like this. And if you use Parmesan cheese, you can throw some Parmesan cheese on there. You could throw some nutritional yeast on there, or you can just eat it like it is. But there you go. We've got spaghetti squash topped with lentil vegetable mixture, and it's really yummy. Do give this a try sometime and let me know how it works for you. It's a keeper in our house. This is Judi at Judi in the Kitchen. I hope this helps. Bye for now.